Yeah.
Well, here comes the bell. Our evening sit.
Mm.
Coming together as we find a place to settle in our bodies and bring our bodies and our minds as much together as we can. Welcoming each other, our various ages and ethnicities and cultural heritages, our religious backgrounds and socioeconomic groups, our abilities, our sexual orientation and gender identity, coming together, welcoming each other in all of our rich complexities, honoring each other and undertaking this offering of a heartfelt welcome to ourselves, to this position, to this place, and acknowledging the indigenous peoples of the region where we are seated. Here in Portland at the Columbia and Willamette confluence of rivers, where the dozens of tribes and bands that make up the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, and the Silettes and the Cowlitz, and many, many other Native communities that made their homes here for thousands and thousands of years. And just recognizing and being grateful for the past, present, and future of their ongoing and vibrant presence. And acknowledging these ways that we might not really be familiar with these tribes, but just acknowledgement, even just the land acknowledgement itself, it's just a way of bringing up the colonialism. And if we want to investigate further, it's always nice to educate yourself about the Native peoples in your area. And along with this acknowledgement is the acknowledgement of the Asian ancestors in Buddhist lineages that came to the US as Asian immigrants in the 19th century. Particularly this month because it's Asian American and Pacific Islanders Month, and acknowledging all of the various Buddhists with family backgrounds in Sri Lanka, China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Burma. And a very special month also in May in Buddhism is Vaisakha. It's the celebration of the birth, death, and enlightenment day of the Buddha, and it's on the 22nd, which is just a couple of days away. So not only the AAPI importance of the whole month, but also the Vaisakha celebrating. So if there's any temple around you, or just look up Buddhist temple near me, it's nice to go somewhere where you haven't been before and see how they have their temple decorated and pay homage to the various representations of the Buddha and Kuan Yin that happen around us. And actually, the reason that May was chosen as Asian American and Pacific Island Heritage Month is based on the fact that the first Japanese immigrants that came to America on May 7th in 1843 brought Kodo Jinshu Buddhism, the Pure Land sect, and they arrived as immigrant laborers to the sovereign nation of Hawaii in 1868, and for 4 decades, nearly 500,000 Japanese would arrive in the Americas to work sugar plantations of Hawaii and railroads of the American West. It and the Honda Hangwangji mission in Hawaii have been the largest Buddhist organizations outside of Asia for much of the 20th century. So when you hear that reference to American Buddhism, sometimes it's sort of, you think of it as what's happened in the last 40 years or so when the modern American Buddhists who established places like IMS and Spirit Rock. But the real American Buddhists are those original immigrants, the Japanese who came here and the Chinese who came here, and just the acknowledgement of the discomfort, the ostracizing, the labor that was put into forming our country. And so we have a lot to really acknowledge and pay homage to. Including the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The understanding through direct experience that realization and freedom is possible in this lifetime. And through the teachings of the Buddha and understanding of the Dhamma, the way things really are, and the support of the Sangha, each other in our group, other Sangha members of other sects, for hundreds and hundreds of years have been finding their way to freedom. And so as we settle in our place, by now the time has gone by while I've been talking, and you've been allowing mindfulness to be present during the talking. We settle in to notice maybe our breath. That's always a good place to start. Noticing the inhale and the exhale at the diaphragm or at the rib cage or at the nostrils. might certainly find that it's hard to focus on the breath. There's always something happening. The mind is wandering into something, or the body seems to talk to us, needs to move, or feels discomfort. And as we have mindfulness coming to the fore, we can notice whatever's happening. And we can even notice the intention before the movement happens. The intention to change position in the body. It's subtle, but it's possible as the practice gets more refined. But we go back to the breath or the touch point in the body, just to begin again to help deepen some concentration for a little while. And we may begin to notice if our attention goes there that maybe the breath changes after a while. What might have been a shorter, shallower breath can become a deeper breath, or a longer breath or a shorter breath. We're just with the way it is and noticing. Mindfulness is neutral and awareness is present to really be with whatever's happening as we really see clearly how impermanent it is. And we may notice if we manage to keep our breath in our awareness that we are less likely to notice the hindrances that arise. They come and they go. We can be with them when they arise. There might be doubt in the practice, or maybe there's restlessness or anxiety. There's grasping and clinging or pushing away from something. These hindrances are just passing attitudes in the mind. And we can know that by letting our attention be there and noticing the impermanent nature of whatever's arising. When a hindrance arises, we can be with it and notice it, and also notice its impermanence and how it doesn't stay forever, and we can't grasp onto it. And so it teaches us really the true nature of impermanence, those three characteristics of anicca, anatta, dukkha. Dukkha is the arising of uncomfortable circumstances, and anicca is really seeing clearly the impermanence by attending to it and noticing that we can't grasp onto it or push it away or make it be different than we want it to be. It arises due to conditions, stays a certain amount of time, and leaves on its own. And we just use the breath or the touch point of the buttocks on the chair or the feet on the floor as a way to return to the present moment. The present moment of what's arising in the body, sensations in the body, thoughts in the mind, or any of the sense doors where conditions come together and arise. Sometimes there's hearing at the ear door and inner seeing if the eyes are gently closed, or there could be smelling and touching and tasting and thinking. It's all continuity of mindfulness, one moment at a time with our awareness present to what's happening. Beginning again whenever we notice that we're lost or confused, or maybe we're roaming in the mind, or planning the future, or visiting the past. Sometimes it helps also to do the practice as a standing practice or a walking practice, to stand in place or to just very slowly walk back and forth 10 or 12 paces, feeling the pressure of the feet on the ground, to bring ourselves back into the present moment, to let mindfulness be curious, have just enough energy to be interested in what's going on each moment. There's a joy that can arise when we bring ourselves back into the present moment. And just the very fact that we're practicing. If we practice, we can't fail. The moment we're doing the meditation, however present we are, we're already profiting. Without controlling the experience. The experience is just the raw experience of nature. Whether it's good or bad, what arises in the mind, all those experiences are interesting and useful for the practice. Just a reminder, if we're spaced out or spaced in, return again, or just open up to this very moment. Whatever's happening, as soon as we reset our intention, just opening to where we are. Those moments of freedom, opening in the present moment, are moments of freedom. Beginning again, going back to the breath or staying with constantly changing objects. It's still a single pointed object. They're just moving rather than going back to one object. It still continues to allow us to gain some concentration, perhaps touch upon a place without a lot of thinking and without a lot of reflection on the hindrances, so that we can develop some calmness, some bliss perhaps. Beginning again with curiosity and energy and interest, mindfulness, concentration. Energy and effort, or faith and confidence. And wisdom arises to show us clearly what we can let go of that isn't serving us, what goes on its own, and how we can see this constantly changing nature of things. The fact that there's really nothing to grasp onto. It's very liberating. What is happening in the heart and mind right now? What is the attitude of the mind right now? Can we be with things the way they are and hold ourselves in kindness, in compassion? What does that feel like? Can we nurture in our hearts kindness for ourselves, kind friendliness? It too is a concentration practice. Any of the Brahma Viharas, because we put our hearts and minds in the cultivation of kindness and friendliness. It's one of the Dhammas, the Metta Bhavana, Metta meditation. Single pointed attention on creating a sense of well-being for ourselves and others. But we start with ourselves, if we can. May I be at ease? Or is there a sense of ease, a felt sense of ease in the body? Or maybe we need support from a being that we emulate or have gratitude toward, a person that we know that supports us, or a vision of a Buddha or a Kuan Yin, or a place in nature that nurtures us. Whatever it is that helps us feel supported and able to really hold kindness in our hearts, kindness for ourselves. And as we nurture the kindness, the kind friendliness, well-being for ourselves, if we feel we can hold within our hearts another person who comes to mind, Is it a friend or a benefactor, a loved one that we hold within our hearts? And let this cultivation of kindness, of well-being, be able to encompass them. This continued development of a single object of our attention, of ourselves and a friend or a loved one, a benefactor. It's cultivating non-harm. It's cultivating non-ill will. It's letting go of greed and hatred and delusion easefully as we incline the heart and mind toward this kindness and compassion that can naturally arise for another person's suffering. And as we let this sense of kindness flow to others, reinvigorating the practice with just enough energy and effort and interest to include others, a neutral person or neutral people that we don't know. Knowing just as I wish to be happy, I know that you also wish to be happy. May you be free from harm, safe and protected. Have ease. And as we're allowing this spreading of metta, of kindness, from out of abundant, exalted, and immeasurable, the book written by Ajahn Pasano, Draw attention to loving kindness and slowly build momentum, allowing it to take hold within the heart. As we work with the cultivation of metta, loving kindness, one cause for the arising of loving kindness is not attending to things that are irritating or conducive to aversion. As a conscious cultivation, we pay attention to things we perceive as good or as conducive to happiness and well-being. We are making a conscious choice. This doesn't mean that everything is wonderful and beautiful, but do I really want to attend to things that stir up the quality of aversion and ill will? By consciously attending to those things that we perceive as conducive to well-being and supporting the wish of well-being, there is a strength of intention that forms in the mind, and we are able to sustain that flow of well-wishing. He continues to say, in this light, I think it is important to recognize that we don't need to override or dismiss our faculty of discernment, for this is what enables us to recognize that there are things conducive to aversion and ill will. It enables us to not give that aversion so much playing time in the mind. In reality, if we wanted to catalog all things that we are offended and feel disgruntled by, the list could start growing. But there is a conscious choice not to give it that attention. In recognizing the benefits of metta, the physical and mental sense of ease that we experience, we encourage ourselves to direct our attention to that which is conducive to the welling up within consciousness of thoughts and feelings of loving kindness. Liking this to food, there are lots of foods that draw our attention, but if we make our diet cheesecake and junk food, we end up not very healthy. I have a friend in Australia who sent me a picture captioned, "Michelangelo's David returns after 2 years in America." He says it's a funny picture of an obese David. In the same way, the heart needs to be nourished by positive things that brighten the mind and the heart and bring a sense of well-being. The conscious cultivation of loving kindness is a skillful way of directing attention. As we do not, it acts almost as a solvent to dissolve and wash away these niggling thoughts and moods of aversion and ill will. As we do that, that has a certain power within consciousness, because when we see things in the light of aversion, ill will, and irritation, then everything is an intrusion and a source of irritation. Things get read through that lens of irritation. So we continue to make this conscious choice of inclining the heart and mind toward metta, toward kindness, attending to those things that we perceive as conducive to well-being, and supporting the wish of well-being in ourselves and in others. As we let these wishes of metta and well-being spread to others that we may not know, those that are in sorrow, those that are with ease, letting equanimity be our foundation to include those who are suffering and those who are in joy and not suffering, those known and unknown, those beings that are realized, who have realized freedom in this lifetime, those beings that are not realized. May all beings everywhere, the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the eight-leggeds, the multitude-leggeds, the no-leggeds, those that swim below the earth's surface in the waters, below the water's surface, and in the sky, those seen and unseen beings. May all beings everywhere have happiness and the causes of happiness, be free from harm, safe and protected, have ease and well-being. In all directions, the north, the east, the south, the west, above and below. May all beings everywhere have happiness and the causes of happiness. Anicca vata sankara upadavaya domino upakita va meruchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. Thank you for your practice. May it be of benefit to all beings, known and unknown.